Good evening. Chappy here. Had a little crisis, but this tells you just how dedicated I am to this stuff, okay? So, just for those of you, I'm laughing about it to keep from crying, but I want to share a quick story. We're going to get into talking baseball real quick. First off, let me know if you can hear me on the chat room. I'd appreciate that. So first off, Chappy here. Chaps Fantasy Chat. I got a packed show tonight. I've done a ton of freaking work. I've had a long afternoon. But I got a bunch of baseball stuff to talk about, okay? So, first thing, I come home from work. I got 3 dogs. I come home from work. The one dog, it just gets sick about twice a year. And the timing's never great, okay? So every time the dog gets sick, the whole house smells like, well, I'll let you be the judge of that, okay? So I come in today, of course, being on time crunch. Come in today and the house reeks. So, dang it. Had to clean up some mess to get here. But you know what? Here I am. Yeah, literally. I've had to put up with a lot of shit to get here, Arnie. Pardon my language, guys. I usually try and keep it PG, but it's just been one of those days, and you know what? Fuck it. So anyway, let's talk some baseball, okay? I got some great stuff to talk about today. Great show, Arnie, as always. Arnie is top notch. I am privileged and honored to share Tuesday nights with him. If you're here for this show, you may as well stick around for our 9:00 show. Arnie and I always rap together. We do a great job. Not literally like the Beastie Boys, but we talk baseball for an hour, and it's usually a really great conversation. So stop by and see us tonight at 9. I'm sure we'll have great stuff to talk about there. So again, like I said, we're gonna talk about some players that got some helium, right? We're gonna talk about some players that are hot. We're going to talk about some standings, what's going on. We're going to focus a little bit more detailed on the AL Central this week, and then then we're going to move into what we're all really looking for, right? We want to know who to pick up, right? I got some pickups and I got some stashes. Okay, so again, I got a packed show. I don't want to dwell on the past, but. It's been a shitty afternoon, so let's have some fun, okay? Cheers. I'm not going to lie to you, I got a little whiskey in my drink, so, like I said, it's been one of those nights. Anyway, the standings, here we are, we're getting through it, right? Things are changing, things are staying the same, teams are starting to separate themselves, others are beginning to falter off or fall off, right? So what am I talking about? Tonight we're going to start last, we're going to finish with the Central. So let's talk about the other divisions real quick before we jump into the Central, because I got a lot of good stuff to share. Again, forgive me if I'm a little scattered tonight, but I really do think that this is worth listening to, okay? So we'll start out in the East, in the AL East. I highlighted the East last week. It is obviously at this point tilted back towards the Yankees. My boy Arnie is just giddy as can be. I know he went to see Judge and Stanton in Durham last week as they rehab. Stanton is back tonight. Exciting times for the Yankees as they get back to health. The ball's in the Rays in the Red Sox court now, right? So the Rays are a half game back. The Yankees lead the division at 43-27. You got the Rays at a half game back and Boston at 5.5. Now, I can't remember one of these shows I was listening to talking about the Yankees and why the Yankees would want to go out and get Edwin Encarnacion. Well, it was pretty interesting. This commentator, I can't remember who it is. Basically was saying that if you look at it, Boston's top 4 starters are left-handed. What do Judge and Stanton and Sanchez and Edwin and Voit all have in common? They kill lefties. They beat up on left-handed hitters. So there's a very poignant reason why the Yankees went out and got Edwin Encarnacion, and I think it's brilliant. I think it is absolutely brilliant. You put him in the middle of that lineup with the rest of those guys they got coming back. Boy, you want to talk about balls flying out at Yankee Stadium this summer. Watch out. So you're going to have to keep up with the Pinstripers going down the stretch. But I think these two teams behind them got a really good chance, okay? And you're absolutely right, George. The other part of that is to keep Encarnacion away from the Red Sox and the Rays. Those are two teams. Obviously, Boston's shown that they're financially strapped. The Rays are perpetually financially strapped. So by going out and saying, hey, we're going to, pay a good portion of this guy's contract, it was enticing enough to sway him away from Seattle, where maybe Boston or Tampa Bay wouldn't be able or willing to do that. So that's the AL East. I'm not going to talk about the bottom feeders, but I do got some tidbits I want to throw in as we go down through here, okay, guys? Again, like I said, I'm not quite as prepared because my preparation time was taken away from me this afternoon, but I got good information. So I'm going to start with the Blue Jays. Interesting thing I read the other day, Vlad Guerrero Jr. has 4 batted balls this year with an exit velo of 115 miles per hour, okay? Sounds really good, right? I thought so. Then the second sentence. No other player in the MLB has more than 2 this season, okay? Vlad's got 4. So this kid's clearly blistering the ball. I look for big things out of him. Again, Toronto's interesting. We could talk about the bottom feeders another day, but honestly, I'm not here to do that. Yeah. George says I can't even drive that fast. No, I hear you, George. I'm an old man, so I don't really get much over 70 at this point. So, but anyway, Vlad Jr.'s blistering the ball. He's very disciplined. He looks like a seasoned veteran. I expect him to continue on an upward trend. How about the Red Sox? Doing my Red Sox research, it's interesting. I look back and start talking about Jackie Bradley Jr., okay? Jackie Bradley's having a good year. We'll get to that a little bit later. I have some stats for him a little later on. But it got me thinking, just, again, listening to stuff, talking about how in the 2011 draft, okay, he was a first-round pick. Now, okay, Chappy, whatever, right? That no big deal. There's a lot of first-round picks who don't do much. So let me talk about the guys that they picked up in this draft. So they have 4 first-round picks. Bradley was their 4th first-round pick. Again, this is the 2011 draft. The first pick, you might recognize the name, Matt Barnes, right? He was their first overall pick. Their second, pretty good. He's part of their back end of that rotation. A serviceable reliever, right? So the second pick in the first round, Blake Swihart, who serviceable, not great, not terrible. He's a major leaguer, so you have to consider that at least marginally a success. The third pick is Henry Owens, and the 4th pick in the first round, 4 picks in the first round, was Jackie Bradley. Okay? Now, what about behind him? So you go down through here. I'm not going to go through some of these no-names. I'm not worried about that. Let's go to the 5th round. In 5th round, they picked a shortstop. This name might sound familiar. Mookie Betts. So in the same draft that they picked, basically the second or third best fantasy player in baseball, they thought more of Jackie Bradley Jr. in the first round. Right. No, I know, George, and you noticed I kind of scoffed over him, right? Henry Owens. But that's okay. I mean, you look at this, draft, you'll take 5 serviceable players out of your draft every year, right? So we're 4, okay? We got Barnes, Swihart to a lesser degree, Bradley, we got Betts. The 5th, who was taken the 9th round, is Travis Shaw. So again, I know he's having a crappy year. I know that, he's maybe not been the most polished player, but he's hit for power. He's shown he can play in the pros. And And again, I started scrolling, and I don't have the information in front of me. It's not important. 2011 was a really big draft for the Boston Red Sox. And you look at these guys, Jackie Bradley Jr. is quietly having a good year. And I got his stats later on. I'll share them with you. He's one of my pickup guys. But again, really interesting to see those 5 guys playing in the majors, and most of them in an effective manner. And having a guy like Betts as your future, right? So, Jackie Bradley's having a good year, is my point, okay? Let's move to the Central. Again, I'm going to go quickly. I got a lot to cover. And again, forgive me for being a little bit all over the place. But in the Central, my favorite division, Arnie's favorite division, well, his new favorite division. My boy Arnie, I heard him talking about the NL Central. It's great. It's great. I'm glad to bring you on board, buddy. So, back and forth. You got Milwaukee and Chicago fighting it out at the top. Milwaukee's got a half-game lead. And then you got St. Louis. Pittsburgh overtook Cincinnati. Everybody had a big fit when Cincinnati jumped Pittsburgh. Well, Pittsburgh's back in front of them now. I don't know that it'll stay that way. I think Cincinnati's got some things going for them now. But fact of the matter is, this is a 2-team race. And St. Louis has some legs. Thanks, George. 208 and 216 at-bats. What's he done the last 2 weeks? What's he done the last month? Anyway. Milwaukee and Chicago are neck and neck. Okay? So when you start breaking these 2 teams down, here's what I see. Milwaukee has scored 361 runs. The Cubs have scored 363 runs. Okay? Very, very close. The runs against is where the difference is. So the Brew Crew at 349 have given up almost as many runs as they've scored. The Cubs, on the other hand, aren't much better. After a rough start, they're now at 302, so some 61 runs better than runs scored. And I think that's going to be a difference. Where we go from here is going to play a lot into who wins that division. I really believe, I heard Arnie talking about Alzolay. I can never say his name. I really believe that the Cubs are going to have to add a pitcher if they want to continue to separate themselves from the rest of this pack. They're going to have to get another starter because you have to anticipate a few injuries as it goes down, and you want to be able to pitch when it comes down, when you go down the stretch. Okay? So, St. Louis is a team you got to watch out for, but right now they're sitting directly in the spoiler seat. Okay? The thing about St. Louis, and I want to caution all of you guys, okay? These beat reporters aren't always right, okay? So you hear everybody's quick. There it is. So, since May 20th, Jackie Bradley Jr. sitting 297 in 91 at-bats with 7 homers and 17 RBIs. His OPS is a 1.022, okay? Guys, that is stroking the ball, okay? We all know Bradley is a streaky hitter. Get him while he's hot. That's all I'm going to say, okay? Back to my point. You start listening to these beat writers, and you get things taken out of context, and you take them as Bible. What the hell am I talking about? Carlos Martinez was written off for dead just a couple weeks ago because some knucklehead in the office, it might have been their coach, it doesn't matter, wrote him off too early. Guys, Carlos Martinez is an ace. He is showing that. He is a stash. Today, the report comes out that they've been impressed with what they've seen out of Carmar, and they're considering moving him back into the rotation. That evens things out in St. Louis's rotation. This is a guy, go out and look on your waiver wire. If he's there, this is an SP1. Okay? Sitting on your waiver wire more than likely. And the cherry on top of that sundae, he's got 2 saves in the last week. So to use them in leverage situations,